Welcome to another episode of Entrepreneurs. With me today are my co-hosts, Rawad and Lee. Hello, Rawad. Hello, Lee. How are you guys doing?
Good, thank you. Great to be here.
Very good, thank you.
Yes, happy to have you. And I will be your host today, Ashley. And with us, our guest today is Hannah B. Hello, Hannah, and welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Hello. Hello from the Southern Oregon coast. Hello, hello. Thanks for having. Okay, that's going to do its thing. You have my undivided attention. So massage therapist, I think was the question, 17 years. I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit, and it took me many years to figure out what it was that I really wanted to do as far as a career. And I started interviewing people when I was 12, and asking them questions about what it is I wanted to do. And it was a long journey, and I'm really, really grateful because I took the time to really figure that out. It's been a really good 17 years.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and talk about that. That you said that you have always had an entrepreneurial spirit. So talk to us about that because where does that come from? Was that something that was inherent in your family? Was that something from being, a scrappy youngest child of like five other siblings? Where did that come from?
I had a paper route when I was in the 5th grade, and I lived in an apartment building and in town. And so I had my like little BMX bike I got for like 25 bucks used, and was like, I need to make some money so I can go buy candy, right? Because that's what 5th graders think. And my mom was a hardworking parent, 40 hours a week as a custodian, and she wasn't going to throw money away. She wasn't going to just like give me the money to just go get candy. So I had to figure out how was I going to get what I wanted. So I found out about a paper route. It paid like 5 something, maybe 6 bucks an hour, if that. And I was riding around with these bags of newspapers. I had to like stuff them in the plastic, put the rubber bands on them, do all this stuff. And I had to ride around and deliver these papers. And let me tell you, dogs do a really good job, like protecting the perimeter. And they don't like newspaper people. Okay. I didn't think about bringing treats. I didn't think about anything like that. So it was just like deliver the paper and go. And there was some risk to that I didn't really like. So I realized that I could do this newspaper route for like 5 something an hour, or I could like figure something else out. I figured if my parents trusted me enough to ride around the neighborhood, going to people's houses, delivering papers, that maybe they would trust me doing something else. And so I talked to my stepdad about it at the time, and he had cut down a tree for this urologist who was really just a gardener who had to become a urologist to afford being the kind of gardener he wanted. And so he brought me over there, and he said, hey, this is Hannah. She would like, I see you have this garden. She can learn to weed. She wants to make some money. Do you think you could give her a try? And Ted was like, absolutely. So he had these huge rows of garlic, and I weeded those rows. And at first I thought I was really slow because I'd never done it before, but turned out it worked okay. So for a while I was doing better. I was making better money than as the newspaper person, right? Well, then that was a lot of hard work. And I like hard labor. I like mowing. Like when I have to go mow my lawn, I'm like, I feel good when I do it. I like exercise. But it's still like the whole hourly thing. It was like, okay, how do I make more per hour? So then I realized, oh, I could clean houses. It's not outside and it's not weather dependent work. So then as soon as I got my driver's license, I became a housekeeper for teachers that I had. I went to all my teachers and I asked if they needed housework. And if they needed some gardening, I could do that, but I really preferred doing the house stuff. So I had some clients I did a little bit of both for and was trying to get to just the housekeeping. Then during that time, I became a manager at an athletic club. I had a friend who bought a club. He already owned a club. He bought another club and he wanted help with it. So I was like, well, I want to do it. I want to manage your club. So he gave me the opportunity to manage that club. And during that time, I realized I wanted to work for myself forever, that I wanted to be the one creating the standard operating procedures, that I wanted to be the one who, I was willing to be responsible, but I wanted to always set my own schedule, and there's something about creating something, making something. And we took this like one business, this club, and we turned it into something, right? So I knew that there was also the joy of just, a business. It's not like a child, because I would give my life for my child. I would not for my business, right? Your business should be supporting you. And I just realized, like, through those experiences of managing myself and kind of getting to be that freelancer, that was what I wanted to continue to do somehow. But I didn't know yet. Even as housekeeping, even as a manager, I still didn't know what that was going to be. I thought I was going to be a dental hygienist, because you can choose who you work for. You can work full-time, part-time. You make good money per hour. There's total job security. If you don't like someone, refer them to another dental hygienist in the office. There's a lot of leeway with that. But it was too conventional for me, to be honest. And so I just decided to go a different way. And
Well,
go ahead, Ashley.
well, yeah, before we get into that, I wanted to ask, so
Mhm.
how old were you when you started with this paper route?
I was in the 5th grade.
5th grade. So that's about 10 or 11 years old.
Yeah, 11.
Yeah. So did you have other people, other siblings? Did they start work that at that early, or what made an 11-year-old little girl decide, you know what, I really need to get out there and start hustling?
Well, my brother Dan was, out of the 5 kids, Daniel had done some work. I'm trying to think if it was before me or after me. I actually think it was later. It
So
may
do
have
you
come
think
later than
that,
me, but it wasn't that there was examples, Ashley. It was the pure desire to be able to go earn money, to go to the movies, to go do things I want to do, to buy the shoes I wanted, if I wanted a poster for my room, and to not put that burden on my mom. If I
yeah,
wanted something that was not a need in my 11-year-old mind, it was, I'm going to have to get that for myself. That's not my mom's responsibility. I shouldn't be asking my
yeah,
mom for that.
yeah.
So it was
I
just that sense of responsibility and wanting to go purchase something that I wanted to
yeah.
purchase, right, as a
I feel like
child.
that's super unique. I mean, I know kids have done paper routes for a long time, but just to start that young for yourself and not even necessarily have an example of someone else in your family, an older sibling starting that young, and just you having this wherewithal, this scrappiness to really get to it. So, okay, so you started around 10 or 11 years old. Then how old were you when the opportunity to manage the club came into your sphere?
21. And I'll say this, I did have an older brother. I just remembered Jason did work for a neighbor doing some yard work. But here's what it is when you're the youngest of 5. Do you think, if you even have the communication skills to convince your mom to give you money to go to the movies when you're the youngest of 5 and a girl in a household with an older sister and 3 big brothers, that's going to be $20, $20, $20, $20 also, right? My mom just couldn't give one of us money. My mom is one of the most fair mothers. We all feel like the favorite. She is so fair, right? So I knew if I was going to ask her for something, that would mean automatically put pressure on her to also do it for my siblings. You know
Sure.
what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yes.
So
So you had a real respect and care for your mother, and you definitely did not want to add to the burden that you felt that she was carrying by supporting your family, if I'm
yes,
getting that correct. Yeah.
yes, yeah.
Okay. So then we're talking about a little
You
bit
said
later, and I'm
right, the
assuming like
management.
Yes. So you said you were 21. So does that mean that when you were in high school that you definitely knew that you did not want to go the traditional 4-year college degree route? And if not, why not, Hannah? Everybody does it. That's the only way that you can get ahead, right?
So when I was 15, okay, I was always the kid because my mom worked nights. I was always the kid that got the parental time, like that time with adults through teachers and friends' parents. Okay. So school was not difficult for me and I liked being there. And so when I was 15, I fell in love with a 19-year-old. Okay. Unsupervised children make poor decisions, people. Okay. So I fell in love with somebody older and I wanted to graduate early. I went through some things with him and everything that I didn't want to be in high school. I'd already seen my siblings go through high school. I knew what high school was about. I knew what teachers were like. At this point, it was a year out from starting to clean houses, but I knew my teachers pretty well. I knew them as human beings. And I just decided when I was 15, I'm going to graduate at least a year early. My sister was always the black sheep. She was the one always getting in trouble, doing all the things, keeping my mom's radars up all the time. And she went to this school called Alternative Youth Activities, and it was in walking distance of my house. So without my mom's permission, I walked there. I got all dressed up. I wanted to look very responsible. And I went in and I talked to Norm, who had a master's degree in math, but somehow ended up as the administrator of the school. And I said, hello, my name's Hannah Cook, blah, 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 blah. And I said, look, my sister went through this program. It didn't really work too well for her because she's focused on all this social stuff, but I'm willing to prove your program works. It's a work at your own pace program. How many kids actually close the deal, actually get their diploma who go through here instead of their GED? Because there was a building that was specifically for the GED students, the seniors. So it's like, I am willing, if you're willing to work with me. And it was really important for me to do math. So we actually really resonated on this. I was like, as long as I can still do geometry and algebra, he goes, oh, I could teach you that. I have a master's in math. I was like, okay, good. As long as I can do the things that I need to do here, I will prove that this program completely works. You'll be able to get your funding for the program. I'll do it. He loved it. Matter of fact, I went and talked to the board, the school board. He brought me to the school board. We told him what I was going to do. And you know what? I never even brought homework home. I just went to school, did my homework all day because everybody knows the public school system isn't that hard. It's all hoop jumping, right? You show up, you do your homework, done for the rest of the day. I ended up graduating a year and a little more early. I don't necessarily recommend it because there's so many things you can take advantage of in high school. If you're that much on the ball, looking back now, I could have had 2 years of college paid for. I would have definitely, if I were to go back and do it again, I would have done that. Would have been a way better use of time and money. But I always, Ashley, was a little bit of a outside the box thinker.
Yeah, I'm getting that vibe very, very much. It's very astounding, very impressive to me, because I just feel like I was still an infant at that age. I never would have thought of graduating early, and I certainly didn't have this like drive to just make things happen the way that you did at such a young age. That's um, really incredible to me.
Love is
So
powerful. It's a powerful motivator.
true, true. Okay, so then let's start after that with you're graduating early and you're a hard worker, no doubt. I mean, you're doing multiple things already, working for yourself and a friend. You already have like a couple different streams of income. You already by this point have figured out that you want to work for yourself. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So then once you kind of have that, and you originally had thought of a more traditional career of being a dental hygienist, like you told us,
Job
where does
security.
massage therapy come into play? When did that decision come to you? And from the working for yourself perspective, talk to us about that part as well.
So look, I had truly been trying to figure it out. I literally, I mean, seriously, you could ask my friends, you could ask the people in my life. I really did. Like, I was constantly interrogating people about their jobs. What do you like about it? What don't you like about it? Well, what would you do differently? Well, what would you do that? What would you like about that? And so I had it in my mind, like, I still didn't know what it was, but I just knew I wanted to call the shots. I didn't want to have somebody just have total leverage in my life. I I got all of the prereqs for the dental hygiene program done. I was in my, I was at this point 21, right? And I moved to Corvallis, which is like 2.5 hours from here. I was getting my A&P at OSU, my anatomy and physiology, my microbiology, going to this big university. And there's all this pressure on you when you're like 21, 22, if you don't already, or if you're not already in your junior year, right? And so I had all this pressure. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? And I was like, okay, dental hygiene, it checks all the boxes. It checks all the boxes. And I'd make a great dental hygienist. I could totally get in there, right? OCD on that. But it wasn't clicking. And I kept praying about it, praying about it, praying about it. Because also at that time, my early 20s is when I had this like huge spiritual thing happen too. So I was praying about it, praying about it, praying about it. And I did all the things, and there I was at the dental hygiene meeting in Eugene, which is about 45 minutes from Corvallis. There I am sitting with all these other people who worked their asses off to get into a program, because it's a very difficult program to get in here. If you don't have all A's and do all the things, bye, because they purposely restrict how many people go in the program every year. And I'm looking around, and I just can't tell you. I felt like a cat in water. Like not a tiger, like a house cat in water. Okay, not like a tiger in water, like a house cat. Okay, they don't like water. I couldn't wait to get out of there. I cried all the way home. I was mad at God. I was like, this isn't it. I've tried so hard. I graduated early. I've gotten all these prereqs done, and this isn't it. I don't know what I want to do. And I went back to work. At that time when I was in Corvallis, I was working at an athletic club downtown. I went to work and I'm folding towels, and I'm just like stressed out. I've, been doing all this stuff. And the massage therapist comes in and she's like, Hannah, what's wrong? And she starts talking to me, and then she's like, you need a massage. So then I went and got a massage. And I'm laying on this warm table. It smells good. The lights are dim. There's music playing. It's in this great positive environment. And I thought my sister would be great at this. I was always, my big little sister, I've always been trying to find like something to inspire her. So I started interviewing the massage therapist, of course, during my massage. And I started asking her about why she became a massage therapist and what she started, what led her there, what she liked about it, what she didn't like about it. And then I was so excited. I went online. I started looking up all the prereqs you need. And I'm like, this is awesome. Hydrotherapy, pathology, A&P, microbiology, all of this stuff, because I love health and wellness stuff. So I was just like, there wasn't a single class that I wouldn't like. And I had a lot of these already done already. So I went and talked to some other massage therapists. I called up the Oregon Board of Massage and I said, what's the best school? Who gets the best grades? They said, Eugene, Lane Community College. Awesome, because they're a cheaper program than those specialty, more expensive schools. So then I called my sister and I said, hey, come do this program with me. I'll fucking do your homework. Come do this program with me. Now, I couldn't get my sister to do it, but it was a great ride. And that's how I ended up. God has this funny way with me, and I think it's because of the way I am, to make sure I know it's God and not me. So here I put in all this time, all this effort to figure out what the heck I wanted to do. And then by chance, I get on someone's table and it led me right where I needed to go. And so I'm glad I ran out of that meeting. I'm glad I didn't settle. I'm glad. because
Yeah.
it led me right where I
So
needed to be.
that's what I wanted to talk to you about because you have this sense when you're talking to us, you said it was not clicking. I was standing in line. I was a domestic house cat in water and they hate water. It's not clicking for me.
Hmm.
But what does that feel like? What does that mean that it's not clicking? What does that feel like for you?
I am a team player. And when I say I want to be my own boss and I don't want anyone to have leverage over my life, that doesn't mean I don't mind serving. I love to serve. That's one of my favorite things about being a massage therapist is I get to 100% be serving that person the entire time. What didn't click about dental hygiene is I knew I wasn't going to be making the personal connection that I wanted to make with every person that came into my life. That's what it was. I realized what a sterile environment I was going to be in. I realized this isn't going to be an environment where I'm going to have much leeway for doing my thing. And that's connecting with people. And that's why I was crying, because it was like, it wasn't about money. It was about finding a career that I could feel like I was really helping people and not just at the skill, but on a deeper level. It was a very spiritual time in my life. And so I had such an awakening. There was no way that I could have a career that didn't somehow include that.
Yes. So that was a primary value for you, and you had all of these other skills that you had been developing from childhood. So you finally make the decision, you go through the program. Talk to us about when you get out and what does that look like for you of opening your own business? Did you go to work for somebody else? Did you go straight into working for yourself? Because as a massage
It's so
therapist,
awesome.
there is a difference.
It's so awesome. Okay, so God, like I said, God has a way of letting me know. So the last, first of all, I did the program in a year. I just did all the classes. I didn't work. I stopped working at the club and I completely dedicated myself to that program for 12 months. So that was fall through a summer, right? As far as school goes, right? All those 4 terms. That summer term, I just had one class left and it was community service. And I knew who needed it. I went right to this nursing home called Baycrest Village. And I said, I would like to set up my chair somewhere here, and I would like to work on the staff. And I'd like to work on not just the nurses or the doctors. I would like for the CNAs, the housekeepers, techs, the office staff, anyone who wants to sign up on this sheet is welcome to. And I'm going to be coming back and I'm going to be coming back. And so tell other people have had a chance. You don't get to come back. You have to let other people, you can only sign up one time. So I got to work with all these different staff members in this space. And it was so cool because they're just working their butts off, right? And especially like this, the CNAs and everything, they have such a hard time. So it was so awesome to go in there and just spoil the crap out of them and make them feel good and cheer them up and make them laugh. And so I did that. Right next door was a retirement community, or is, called Evergreen Court. One of the ladies over here talked to one of the ladies at Evergreen Court. So literally in the 3rd term, they have you do a business plan. And in my business plan, I said, for the first year of my business, I want to work in a retirement community. And I also want to work in my own practice. I had it all in writing. I end up I go to school. I don't even know it's my last day of school. I go to Eugene to turn in all my stuff, to do the class. And my professor says, hey, you got all your hours in. If you just want to email me that report or whatever, you can. You don't have to come to class next week. This could be your last day. I was like, really? That'll save me 4 or 5 hours of driving. Awesome. So I'm super excited. I'm on my way home and I get a call. And it's Tammy from Evergreen Court. And she says, hey, do you have an office already? And I said, no. She goes, well, we lost a massage therapist. We know you were volunteering next door. Is there any way you would come check it out and everything? And I was like, yes, yeah, absolutely. It's in a retirement community like that. Yes. So then the same week, I get a call from Kim Gallagher. Hey, I'm starting Serenity Therapy Center. It's going to be a group practice of massage therapists and one esthetician. Would you come in for an interview? Yes. So I didn't even know about Kim Gallagher. So I go, I do the interview. I said, hey, Evergreen Court's already called me. I'm going to have my private practice there, but I will sign a non-competition clause. And the people I work on here, I won't mention my other office. I won't mention anything about it. And she was like, deal. So the first year I got to work in that group practice, I got to work at Evergreen Court. I stopped working at the group practice after 1 year. I learned everything I needed to know about that and was very grateful to have my own private practice. So God is good. What can I say?
Yeah, yes, 100%. So right away. So I wanted to check in with Lee and Rawad and see if they have any questions at this point, because we're off to the races with you getting out into your practice. And I do have some more questions, but I want to see if they do.
Yeah, I do. So, how to put it? Because, yeah, when you mention God, then there's not much room. But still, He instilled in you the power of building relationships and connecting with people. And it seems that I want to start calling you Hannah Shaker, like as in shaker and mover. Like you were just going to people and things were just happening. You were taking action and things started happening. But what is evident is that it's not only taking action, but also connecting with people that made everything happen as well. So that's a skill that I lack, for instance, but I can only imagine how things would be like for me if I could connect on a deeper level, like so fast with somebody.
That's so weird to me because you seem good at it to me. You do seem like a connector, a bridge maker. You do seem like a shaker. You do. So that's interesting. Now I'm going to have to interview you about why you feel like you're not good at that.
No, but I just wanted to, this is just an observation. So that's what I like about our interviews is that we get to see Ashley in action and we observe and we can come up with these insights that maybe other people are also seeing as well. Yeah, so that's it. I don't have a question. I just wanted to provide this insight from observation.
You know, I came from an interesting family. So my mom was a farm girl and my parents got divorced when I was 5. So I didn't really have that father in the house. So my brothers were like male role models. And when you are the youngest of 5, with all my siblings are stubborn and they're all very independent in their own way. And one thing living in a household when there's no parent at home and just the older siblings is they don't let you get away with anything. So one, I learned not to worry about the word no. No to me was no right now. No, because you didn't offer me something I wanted. No, because I have something else going on. I realized really early, no really didn't have a lot to do with me. And so it was like, how can I get my brothers to let me go to Jessica's house? How am I going to do that? Okay, I'm not even gonna, I learned very quickly, come home from school, do all your chores without being asked. Feed yourself, clean up after yourself. Make sure you have everything ready. Take away every possible reason they could say no, right? Do all your things, check, 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 check. And then I'd go and ask, hey, I did all of this. This is all done. Is it okay if I go down to Jessica's? Here's her phone number. This is where she lives. I'll come right back. I promise I won't go anywhere else. I'll stay right there. You can call and check if you want to. And if I threw in something like, I'll eat dinner there. Now they don't have to worry about me for dinner. So they're either getting what I was going to get because mom already made it, or they don't have to make me dinner. I learned that kind of stuff early. My sister was the arguer. My sister would fight and fight and fight and fight and fight. And I watched her. She's scrappy. She'd take me. But I learned this doesn't get very far. And my brothers, when you have power, it can kind of make you a little power hungry or whatever, right? So the more my sister would push, the more they enjoyed the power. So I also learned if they said no, okay, I'm not going to cry or get mad, because then there's no way. I just wait, ask later. Hey, is it okay if I go do that now? You know, I learned that no had to do with them more than me. So
Sales skills.
Exactly.
you know, when you have brothers that like they had full reign over us. I mean, they could spank us if they wanted. They could do whatever. There were no parents around. So, you know, you learn, right? And I mean, I'm lucky that I had loving brothers. You know, they were loving, even though they were typical teenagers and stuff. They were very loving, and I'm grateful for that. But they did, I mean, they're teenagers, right? And so I have a teenager now. I see how she is with her almost 8-year-old sister. You know, she's a lot smarter. You know, she knows how to push her buttons and everything else. And I'm always trying to tell Aaliyah, don't let her do it. You got to diffuse that button because she's literally controlling you every time, right? And so it's just that I think that our family survival skills, I may not have had, I had hard work as an example, you know, and being responsible as an example. But I mean, if you really think about it, the next time you're in the shower, think about how many times you've been told no, and how much does that even have to do with you? I mean, here, I'll take it to the marriage level. Okay, you're going to bed. Why are you really getting a no? Did you do anything wrong? It probably has nothing to do with you. It's probably because they don't feel good. But this is why I tell I tell men all the time, look, if you don't want to know, you need to stop making it about you, make it more about them, because that's why you're getting a no. Set the mood. Do the things, and then you won't get a no. You're not getting a no because you're getting a no because they're not in the mood. Make the mood happen, right? And I'm sorry, working in a retirement community and working with older people, you know, these kinds of conversations come up. But it's like it's funny. I think it's really relatable. You know, like a lot of times couples, they fight about sex, kids, or money, right? And it's like, okay, so those are 3 topics that can come up. And it's just funny because that is a thing that people take so personally. And that's why I'm using it as an example. People take it so personal. Well, what am I doing wrong? And it's like, well, you're thinking it's something you're doing. It's really what you're not doing. You know?
Yeah, so that was something that you learned at a really early age by observing and learning from others, and it's very obvious that you took that that wherewithal, that knowledge with you onto your career. So as far as Lee, did you have any questions or anything before? Okay. Okay, cool. So yeah, so talk to us about when you start working, because you had 2 examples. One where you're working for yourself, you have your own practice, and as Rawat had said, you really these things some people could interpret it as effortless, that it came to you effortlessly, but that's the opposite of what happened. It was because of all of the work, all of the relationship building, all of the go get it attitude that you had ahead of time. You were laying the groundwork, and then opportunity that you earned came to you, which is really, really beautiful. Now, being out of school, you now have an opportunity to have working for yourself and working with others. So, from an entrepreneurial perspective and from a Hannah perspective, talk to us about, because you seemed relieved when you let the other place go. Well, why is that? Let's talk about running it your way, and let's talk about being in a almost like a co-op situation at the other place, and why was going Hannah's way what you needed to do.
So you're talking about my first year of business where I worked in my private practice and group practice?
Yes, and I did want to ask, when the group practice, were you paying like a room rent and earning everything, or were you being paid by them per session?
It's possible that she worked out an individual deal with each person, but I'm under the impression that she just took a percentage of each session to cover her overhead, because we did always have a staff member answering phones, taking
Okay,
people coming in. So there was overhead. And so
right.
she did, I think it was like $10 a massage or something, totally worth it. It was a great deal.
Very affordable.
Yeah. And then my deal at Evergreen Court was that I worked out with them was amazing. So I ended up just giving their staff and residents a discount whenever they came, like a nice sweet discount. And then that was it. So I could still have anybody I wanted to come in. I could still market to other people and they could come in, and my payment every month was just the staff and residents. And whether they came or not, it didn't matter. It's just I gave them that Godfather deal whenever they came. So it was sweet. It was a real win-win. And then as far as like, so I'm a no drama mama. I like getting along, and it's really funny. My mom was the kind of mom where we had a chore chart in the living room, and everybody, or excuse me, in the hallway, and everybody knew what their chores were each day. She would change the color key for the day and what room, and it had written everything in that room that you were supposed to do. And if we didn't do it, we got woke up, we got spanked, we got told to go do what you didn't do, and then put back to bed, and then woke up early for school. So we did our chores, right? Even if it was an hour before mom got home, we made sure the chores were done. So that I realize is not programming that everybody gets. But working in a group practice, everybody has different standards. So there's also ethics and laws in Oregon to protect clients when they go into massage therapy offices. There's certain rules for what type of laundry basket you should have. There's certain rules what type of garbage you should have. There's certain rules about wiping things down in between clients and keeping things clean. And it just wasn't hitting my standard. So I would go in there like a pregnant woman nesting and clean it, right? And I just do it, get it done, because I don't like conflict, right? And so just doing that for a year, I was just like, I'd rather just be my own practice. It's not that I didn't like the people or anything, and I met all kinds of people, and it was a really good experience, but it's kind of the difference of when you're in college and having roommates and then getting your own house. It was fun while it lasted, but I'm sure glad I had my own house to go to after a year, lots of positive experiences. I met a lot of people. I was able to really see what kind of massage therapist I was going to be in that first year. Very few massage therapists have the opportunity to start working as much as I did right away. I started working as much as I wanted right away, and my own schedule and everything. I set my own schedule right away. So it was really awesome to get to experience that kind of lifestyle before having kids and everything. It was really cool. And a group practice can be fun, but there will be compromises whenever there's a group. and management matters, and I wasn't the manager, and so I didn't have control over the standing operating procedures. If so, that could be different. Something I've thought about doing is having like a group practice, but I always talk myself out of it because I just, it's just drama. There's always going to be drama, and I do try to avoid drama.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point. So talk to us a little bit about that because that is something that a decision that an entrepreneur does have to make. Do I want to have employees? And there are a little bit more specifics in the massage world because you have options, whether that would be having a facility and allowing people to rent a room from you, or having like what you said, an arrangement like I pay you X per client, and then figuring out how much that is and dealing with the whole having of employees. So, what made you decide that you would rather continue to work for yourself and not necessarily go the route of having employees and people working for you?
Ethics, boundaries, and communication. Um, if I, that was 17 years ago, right? I'm a lot more knowledgeable now. And I'm a peacemaker. It's not that I can't handle drama. I'll always find a way to have the peace come out in the end or whatever. It's just working in an environment where people come to feel better. For me, it was just literally people coming in and, people talking and people doing things that it just wasn't ethics, right? The ethics just weren't there. So my advice would be, if somebody wanted to be in a group practice, it could be amazing. Like if I lived in the same town as Ashley, right? Because there's shared values. And I got that phone call. I didn't even know who that person was. I didn't even know any of the people there before I started working there. I was just so grateful to have the work. And it was great and it was appropriate at the time. But now, after being seasoned and learning everything that I have now, if I were to go out and put a team together, that's what it would be. And that's how I would see it. I'm putting a team together. I'm not just
Right.
hiring people to fill a position. I'm hiring people for specific places on a team. And that's how I would put it together. So that way everybody knew what their expectations were. Everybody knew what the ethics and boundaries were. And then all that would be in writing. Things would be signed and agreed upon. And then if there happened to be any issue, we would just refer back to that standard operating procedure. And well, what did we already agree we would do in this situation? Right?
Yeah.
That is something that I built for the athletic club. I actually, just another example, thinking outside the box. So Writing 123 is a class that you have to take in your writing series in college. It's a technical writing class. So since I was the manager at the club, I didn't want to take another writing class and go sit in a writing class. So, I know the teachers. So I go in, I talk to Kate, and I'm like, hey, Kate, I'm in your 123 class, and I'm wondering if you would do a private study with me. I'm managing this club, and they need all their technical writing needs to be redone. Their inventory lists, their hiring procedures, their employee manual, everything needs to be done. And I was wondering if you would help me do it. And she was super stoked. So that term, I got paid to do all of that work for the club and got an A+ in my 123 class, and I never even had to go to class.
Oh, that's amazing.
And that was a fun time. I enjoyed managing that club because whenever there was a problem, I would take people in hey, I didn't talk to you. We would talk privately. we would just open up the manual. Hey, I just want to refresh this with you. Here's the procedures. It's nothing personal. I don't want other people feeling like you're getting special treatment because they're not allowed to be late, sick, or have personal problems. So I'm just got to bring it. What can I do to support you? Blah, blah, blah. Having those things in place. We didn't have anything like that at all in that spa, right? We didn't have anything like that. It was just kind of, like I said, college roommates, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So if I were to do that again, I think that that is the key. And that's what's so great about autonomy is they talk about those kinds of things and why it's so important. And then you have the opportunity to work with people in a mastermind group to hone those things even more. But that's really the kind of the thing, right? It's working with the people that you enjoy working with, whether it's other staff members, whether it's employees, whether it's clients. Working with people you want to work with has been a cornerstone for every decision. Because even when I agreed to be the manager at the club, I did the hiring, right? So there's that drive of just choosing who you get to work with, whatever that is. So even in a group practice, you could totally still make those choices and then just have really good agreements in place.
So, that you bring up a really good point, a lot of very good points. One specific thread that I want to pull out of that last block is the conversation of ethics. So you had said that you felt, I don't know, I'm paraphrasing here, but basically that you were not always on the same page with some of the people that you were working with from an ethics perspective. So can you go into, first of all, what does high ethics, excellent ethics look like in the field of massage therapy to you? And what are some of the challenges that you ran into when that standard was not being met?
So I love this topic. The only other topic I love as much that is related to massage specifically is fascia. Okay, so the thing is that I just had a brain fart. Hold on. What did you ask me, Ashley?
So ethics is important
Lee
to
loves
you.
this right now. Lee is so like, yes, it's not just me. See, Lee, it's not just you. What was it, Ashley?
So the topic of ethics, yes.
And how it relates and how come it's important to me. Okay.
So yes,
there it is.
and
I got the file back up.
Perhaps how it had been challenged in some of the ways in working in the group practice.
The challenges. That's what it was. The challenges. Okay, so the massage, when I chose to be a massage therapist, one of the things that I thought was really cool, and I know my libertarian friends are not going to like hearing this, was that it has a board. Because I knew if it has a board, then one, I'm going to make higher pay. Because in California, like anybody can hang a shingle and put on some heels and be like, hey, come get a massage, right? So I love that Oregon's not like that. I love that it totally has a stance against sexual trafficking. Or human trafficking of any kind, but especially sex trafficking. And I loved their ethics on their website. You can read the laws, the ethics, and I did. And I loved it, right? They were in alignment with my own. So having a team back that up. Now, one of the things since I became, over time as I become more knowledgeable, I just wish they didn't have to answer to the Oregon Health Authority. I love my board. I just wish they didn't have to answer to OHA. That would be great. But otherwise, the thing is that without ethics, without those boundaries, and without communicating them clearly, everybody's living their own life. Everybody has their own perspectives, their own experiences, their own backgrounds, and their own standards. And there's nothing wrong with that. And when we don't communicate things out, and if we don't have agreements in place, if you're working with people, right? Not your friends that you choose and you go hang out with, but you're in an environment where you're working together. It can become a real challenge because what one person sees is totally okay is not what another person sees as okay. So having those things in writing and agreed upon is super key. Even if they have a difference of opinions, hopefully they have the shared value of teamwork and being on the same page. So they're willing to compromise. Like, okay, here I can be however at home. and in my car and in my personal life, I can do whatever there. But in this space, I agree to operate like this, right? And I think those operating procedures are super key because people just end up taking things personally. They make assumptions. Oh, I like this person. We get along great. It's all going to be great. And then they make a bunch of assumptions, which I've learned recently in autonomy is just being gullible, right? And so then it leads to arguments and frustrations because one person is seeing like, hey, how come no one else is seeing this? How come this is happening and no one cares? They don't
Yeah.
care that they don't care that this laundry's piling up. They don't care that this stuff's on the floor. They don't care about their clients because they're not keeping things clean or oh, they just talked about their client who just left and that client totally trusted them and they just talked about what their client was talking about with them to this other person. They don't care, right? So in that person's head, they're thinking this person just doesn't care, they're not thinking, oh, this person has a completely different perspective of me on this and I will talk to them and have understanding. No, it's this person's stupid. This person doesn't care. This person, is disgusting and has low standards or whatever, right? They start taking it all personal and making it personal. When you have the ethics, the boundaries, and the communication in place, it's not personal. You take the personalization out of it and you make sure everything that is there is reasonable and logical. It's reasonable and logical to sterilize your table in between clients. There's all kinds of reasons to do that. There is a good reason to wash sheets and not reuse sheets, right? And so all these things, it's important in an environment where people are coming in and out to keep that bathroom clean, to keep those things clean, because otherwise people get sick, right? If you had a restaurant, if people aren't washing their hands, it's not going to take long before people get sick, right? So
So
having those things in place really matter. And the challenge is, Ashley, is when it's not in place. When assumptions are made, people think I get along with this person, so if we have a problem, we'll figure it out. And also making the assumption that whatever they think is right about something, that person's going to agree with them. And then when that doesn't happen, then the drama takes place. So those are the challenges. And honestly, my way of dealing with it is I just would do everything. I just take care of business, right? Because it was less energy to just do whatever I needed to do than to try to change somebody. And I didn't have those standard operation procedures in place at that spa. So, I couldn't refer to them.
yes, so I think this is a very good point because you bring up a lot, like, first of all, ways to address problems when you know that they arise because you know that they're going to. So to easily be able to address, conflict resolution and management, boundaries, and ethics. And it sounds like working with that particular practice because you were young and because you didn't have an opportunity to hand select the team, that you felt that some of their ethical standards were not in line with the board, but also your personal ethical standards, whether that would be from talking about a client negatively or the cleaning standards and probably a lot of different things in between. Is that fair?
Yeah.
And so
And those
then,
are all the board as well, right? Those aren't my
yes.
own that I made up.
Right. And then working for yourself, you had a lot more control over operating at a really high standard and quality of care for your clients. So then let's move into managing your business, right? When you're the one, you're working for yourself and you're doing that for yourself, that means you're doing everything. That means that the responsibility of, especially I basically consider myself like a micro business because I don't have employees. But it means you deal with the accounting yourself. It means that you deal with getting all the supplies yourself, of paying all the bills for yourself, of booking everybody, of rescheduling everybody, of, the laundry, all of those things. So you're managing that in your business, and then you're also managing a family as a mother, right? So I think that that's something that is taken for granted, like people that are just good at being an entrepreneur. But talk to us a little bit about having a work-life balance, especially somebody who's a mother of 3 children. And how do you navigate that?
All right. Well, it takes a village, takes a tribe, takes people, right? So in all of those interviews, lots, hundreds, I knew simplicity was the key. In all the things that people talked about that stressed them out, that kept them from doing the things that they wanted to do, right? Their pitfalls. I realized that one cool thing about massage therapy was the simplicity. And especially when I started working for myself, things just became even more simple, which I had so much freedom with my time. And so the way that I did that is I intentionally made things as simple as possible. So I didn't charge for different things. I just had one flat fee at just different times, right? 60-minute, 90-minute, but it was the same. I had a certain set number of sheets at all times. I had a certain set number of face cradle covers. I knew exactly how much lotion I needed to have on hand. And I'll tell you, the great thing about the business is the overhead is low, right? All you need is, if you're going to do aromatherapy, some oils, some lotion, or whatever you're using for your massage, maybe a holster to hold that on your waist, gloves possibly, your linens for the table, whatever cleaning supplies that you're going to do, right? And then just your decorations, okay? And then, of course, your intake forms and any brochures you may have, okay? So simple, right? And I really think that honestly was a huge key to the whole single mom thing and doing all that, was that my business was not one, I wasn't running a restaurant. I wasn't having to deal with employees and me having to go cover for them. I wasn't having, and Evergreen Court was great. Working there was fantastic. Everybody, I never, in all the 13 years that I was there, had a single problem ever. It was awesome. So I didn't have work drama. And when you don't have work drama, it frees you up a lot. It's amazing to me. My clients, they come and kind of decompress, and there's always drama. I mean, it doesn't matter where it is. Anytime you get a group of people gathering together, unless there's some really shared values and people are very clear about what you're doing when you get together, right? Drama happens. And so I just think that has been really, the simplicity of my business has been a huge part of the mom thing. And then also with the taxes and all of that, it's so easy because all I had was my time. So just my expenses and my time. So it's very easy to keep track of, especially these days with computers, and just typing things in and using Excel or whatever. I created my own Excel sheets. I looked at QuickBooks and I was like, no, thank you. I'm not giving you all that data. What's the point? The whole point is to be able to fill this shit out yourself. Like, I highly recommend you make your own Excel sheets or make your own software for keeping track of your stuff yourself. It's very empowering. Just so that's all I'm going to say about that for now. But in doing so, it is just simple. So I think that that's the key to life. Even in my life, I never set out to make money, Ashley. I never set out to be rich because I knew rich people who were miserable. That never was my goal. My goal was freedom. My goal was to be my own person, to have sovereignty, to choose who I had in my life. That was my goal, to be able to support a simple lifestyle. I live in a 1,090 square foot house. I have a simple car. The first new car I bought, I was almost 40. Every other car before that was less than $10,000. I have always lived within my means, right? If I couldn't pay cash for something, I just usually wouldn't do it, right? So that helped for a really long time. COVID really kind of messed some of that up. I had to learn about how to use credit cards and all that just to balance everything out. And I have a lot of respect for people who have to do that on a monthly basis because that's a headache. But that's, I think, simplicity, staying within my means, and not overbooking myself. One thing that I do notice that entrepreneurs may have in common, like it's something maybe not everybody has, but it's something commonly noticed, is, you can get so focused on your work that it takes you away from your rest of your life. And I didn't have that. I had the ability to focus on my kid when I was at home. I didn't have a stack of paperwork at home to have to go through, and I sit down and do my taxes like once a year, right? But I even do that with my yard. Like literally, I only weed twice a year, the way I have it set up. I can just do it myself. And I only have to mow and weed eat. It's a very small area. The types of trees and trimming that I have, it's very simple. Because I happen to know, I've listened to people do stuff with their yard, and then what a headache it can become, right? And all my gardening I do at my mom's. So I'm just simple. I think that's been a key for me, is keeping things simple, trying not to have work that takes up all my time, right? Making sure I had time to be with my kids. After having a mom that worked nights my whole entire childhood, she didn't get a day shift job till after I was 18. That was really, really important to me, is to be able to go to the plays, go to the games, go to the doctor's appointments, be able to be home. That was something I didn't want to miss out. And so that's been the big thing, is just keeping things simple, being practical, living within my means, doing things for myself, doing my own books, not having to pay somebody else, going to the IRS website, learning how to do it. Everything's on there. It's not, every answer you need is there. And, learning how to, it's just the same as like learning how to use a weed eater, learning how to change the string out, learning how to use a mower, learning how to change a spark plug, just doing things for yourself, because otherwise things can get really expensive if you have to pay other people to come do things for you. And that was one of the things I noticed, that my wealthy friends, they had a lot of responsibility to make a life change for them. Not only affected them, it affected a lot of people. It affected the gardener, it affected the housekeeper. It's just interesting how that works.
Yeah, so you've done a lot of observing and learning from people's mistakes and just the wisdom that they're willing to impart on you. And it sounds like yes, that you have found a very good balance of work, professional, and home life, and then you deliberately cultivated this life so you could be available for your children, which I think is it's really interesting to hear that perspective, because I do think that it can be very difficult for entrepreneurs to have the balance of family and being able to take care of the business and their family and being available for their kids. So before we move on, Lee, Rawat, do you have anything that you wanted to check in with? Anything to ask here?
Nothing to ask, but I just, I wanted to remark upon the Hannah's early start with being really observant with the people around her, and patterns in people around her. I think that's really important, because I noticed the same thing myself growing up, and except Hannah was able to utilize that in really important ways, like learning about when the word no was thrown at her, for example, what was really behind that, and then bringing that into a more sophisticated way of being, where she, in order to avoid the usual strife that you see in groups, she was willing to go the truly the extra mile, to do the extra cleaning or whatever needed to be done to make sure that she was okay, and it happened to benefit the people around her greatly. I think that's really interesting as well. And yeah, the final observation, at least for now, is, yeah, keeping it simple as well. Being really practical and making sure that one has the supplies one needs, and making sure that everything's in place so that one can take care of business, but not so complicated so that if something does go a bit haywire, a bit chaotic, everything's all right. Everything's going to be all right, you know? And that's really important. So many people overcomplicate things, and it's like they say with machinery, more parts, more chance to break. And Hannah's really stripped that down to some really simple processes that make a great um, environment for herself, especially as a mum with 3 children. Yeah, that's just amazing. Yeah, I just wanted to bring that up. And yeah, I think that's a lot to learn from right there. A lot of people haven't learned even some of that basic stuff. Yeah, that's great stuff. Thank you.
Thank you. You know, I really appreciate that. And hearing somebody say that, it teaches me something about myself too. So thank you, Lee. And being able to pick who you work with, I want to talk about that for a second. In the sense of it has to do with keeping things simple. I have room for one high maintenance client, and there's one that's filled it for many years. And I talk to massage therapists all the time from all over because we do continuing ed. And I know that when you have bills to get paid, you got to do what you got to do. I understand you got to pay the bills. But I will say, you know what? I've sacrificed income. I've sacrificed income to my ethics. I've sacrificed income for communication and for boundaries because, you know, I did have clients over the years. I've had some clients that I've referred on. And I think it's super important to know that, like, if you want to have a good business, even if you're a contractor, if you have a crappy client as a contractor, I mean, they can, even if it's the smallest job, it can be your biggest headache. And so being able to really give myself permission to, if there was somebody that I did not want to give a massage to be able to say no, no, thank you. And to be able to just be like, hey, I'm sorry, that's not going to work for me, but I can refer you. Here's the 3 people that I would recommend. Here's what they're like. Here's their numbers, have all that information ready for them and to give to them. It is the best because you're doing the best thing for them, because now they're going to hopefully find somebody who is not having like a negative experience with them, right? Because everybody's co-creating different things with different people. And then I'm not having to like touch somebody for an hour and a half and like sitting here trying to help them feel good and feel awesome, not feeling good. And I think as a massage therapist, like specifically as a body worker, I think that's something that can really lead to burnout, is having to work on people that you don't feel like they appreciate you. You don't feel like they care a rat's butt about you, you know, they're there for the service. And whether it's estheticians, you know, tattoo artists, it doesn't matter. People, if people treat you like a servant, like suddenly you don't want to serve them. Isn't that funny how that works? It's like when your mom tries to tell you to go hug somebody, now you don't want to give them a hug. You know what I mean? So, you know, working with people who appreciate you and who look forward to working with you, who come into the office like, oh, I'm just so glad to be here, right? It's the best. You could have had a tough morning yourself, but that's what you're co-creating. And so when they come in, you're already elevated because they're happy to see you. You know, I don't work with anybody who's mean to me. I don't work with anybody who's rude to me. I don't work with anybody I can't be completely honest and transparent with. I'm honest and transparent with every single person I work with. And if there's something that doesn't jive, I'm not going to take it personal. I'll refer them on because I don't want them to feel awkward, right? I'm not going to assume that, you know, that how I do everything is right, but I do want to work with people who feel comfortable being in my life. Right. And so it doesn't matter how good of a massage therapist I am. Somebody might want to come to me, well, I just heard she's so good. And then they meet me. And if there's like something not clicking, if they sit there and lay on the table the whole time, like, I really don't like this person, that massage isn't going to be that great. And so I highly I know it's not possible for all jobs, but if people are working in the service business one-on-one with people and they're pouring out that type of care, it's just so different. It's such a wonderful thing when whoever you're working with or working on truly respects you and appreciates you. And it's my clients that have kept me going these 17 years because those are the type of people I work with. I don't work with anyone else. I have fired people, I've asked people to leave, and so having that boundary of I'm not going, this is a sacred space, and I'm not going to allow any kind of toxic anything to be in this environment, right? And so I think that co-creating that type of positive experience is a huge thing. It's very easy to have a low stress work environment when you are respected and appreciated, and it goes both ways.
So I think that's a really interesting point, and it certainly is unique to your particular industry that you have such close contact with people, and that sometimes you have to make the decision to let somebody go. You know, so in a way, as you said, it is sacrifice because it's sacrificing income. Now, of course, being an operational, knowledgeable massage therapist with a good business, you're going to be able to fill that easily.
Easy.
However, there's still an element of conflict there, or resolving a conflict or trying to get ahead of a potential conflict. So talk to us a little bit about what does that look like when you said that because feeling a connection with somebody is so important in the way that you work and the way that you run your business. So tell us, what does it feel like when that isn't there? And then how do you go about having that conversation with referring someone else, referring them out?
Have you ever been on a bad date?
Yep.
It's awkward. It's awkward, right? There's an awkwardness versus a good date. Click, click, click. You automatically just are connecting, right? Before you even start speaking, there's something about each other. You just even looking and observing each other that you're relaxing and expanding versus
An energetic
contracting.
connection.
Yep. And that energetic connection can cause expansion or contraction. So if I meet somebody, this just happened to me recently. I went somewhere. I have to say this in a way that this person won't know who it is. I went somewhere and met someone who had someone with them, and they were like, "Oh, you're the massage therapist. I want to work with you." And the person, the person I've known forever, was like, "Oh, are you taking on new clients?" I could tell my client was like, "Hey, this doesn't count me as referring." And I could tell like what my client was thinking. My client already knew that it wasn't going to click, right? And that's why she'd never referred her to me. So anyway, I talked to the person and stuff, but as soon as I kept it as short as possible because I had that feeling instantly, contraction. And so I was like, and I just remember getting in my car like, dang it, like that's so funny how that happens. How am I going to handle this, right? Because she got me. I'm my own fucking gatekeeper, and she found me. She got me, right? So I've been thinking about it, and it's like, okay, well, what about that experience made me contract? Am I taking something personal? Is she reminding me of somebody? What is it? Am I going to do this? And to be completely honest, Ashley, I'm still thinking about it because my first response in my mind is like, no, but I really do care about people. And she was super excited about working with me. So what I've been thinking is addressing it and just being like, have we met before? There's something there, right? So I've just been thinking about, do I address it? Do I ask my friend first? If maybe they know what it is. But yeah, because I kind of like want to work with her, but there was definitely something there. So I'm also thinking about referring her.
Sure.
So,
Well, I think
and
it's
it
a
might work
really
out in the phone call, and that's why I brought it up. So getting ahead of it, you said. So when I call her, I always do a pre-call, right? There's always a pre-call. And in that call, that's when you find out, well, who referred you, in that case, me. And then I'm going to ask a bunch of questions. What is it you need? What is it you're looking for? What, have you had massage before? What worked well for you? What didn't? And in that conversation, I'm going to be trying to make a connection. I'm going to be trying to feel that out and see what happens. So, because I do believe, and so this girl made it to me. I'm paying attention, and usually I'm also aware that if something causes me to contract, it may also have something to just do with myself. So I'm curious, right? And I'm just going to be curious about it, and I'll probably just ask her questions. This just happened this week, so
Yeah, that's really an interesting situation to be in where you really have to, it seems sort of rote, but you're like, no, that there might be something else going on here. So yeah, you have to explore it. And that can
yeah.
be, I think for most people, that would be really uncomfortable because, that's the unknown, which is scary, right? So,
Well, if I don't figure it out, I'm going to be touching that person for an hour, right?
yeah,
So there's
yeah,
motivation. And
yeah,
I will talk to them, right? And I'll tell you, I many times, that's my screening, right? Is screening my calls, screening, right? And so doing that screening is huge. And I check my referrals. If it's somebody that said, oh, I got, I check before I even call them back. I check before I text them back, call them back. Is this person, did you refer this person? Yes. Okay. Then when I call them, I go through all those questions. By the end of a screening call, I know if I want to work with that person, and I know if I'm not, who I'm going to refer them to. And so if I want to refer them, then I will talk up the person I'm referring them to. And then I also let the person know who I referred them. I let them know, hey, I didn't click with this person. I'm hoping you will. Thank you. Because my people I refer to know how I am. So they love it when I refer people to them. They'll take it.
yeah. That's pretty incredible, to have a screening tool in place to try to ensure that you do have the connection that you desire to have with your clients. I feel like that's a really, really incredible tool that you have created and a process that you have created for yourself and to try to really get in front of the issues. I also think that it brings up a couple of really interesting things about trusting your own intuition but being curious enough to know that sometimes perhaps it's still about you and actually taking some time to really mull that over. Is this
Yes.
something about me that I'm maybe not being fair to them? Or I definitely, so you're really recognizing your connection with that person and how you felt, but you're also not making quick snap decisions before you before you manage that relationship, whether that's accepting them into your practice or sending them to somebody else that you feel would be a better fit for them. So I really like that as a tool of setting yourself up for success and getting in front of conflict and resolution before it ever comes to that.
And I've done that screening from the beginning. It's actually in the business plan. And in the spa environment, in that group practice, which is no longer open, it's been closed for years, by the way. It was something I couldn't do. Someone else was booking me.
Exactly. Yeah. So how did that get on your radar as something, a tool that you wanted to utilize for your own success?
School. I had great teachers. The board was correct. Lane is the best. It was all a program of massage therapists. They all were active massage therapists as well as teachers. It was like the best. It was like not even going to school. It was awesome. But they loved their stuff. So like they expected you to know your stuff. And we practiced screen calls. We practiced we role played. We, in our business ethics and boundaries class, which is required, we role played difficult situations. We would have two people role playing and other people observing, and then we would talk about how that could have been done differently. And then we would find another difficult situation. And then how do you work that out? And to this day, I have two people, just two, that are massage therapists, because I don't talk about stuff that is said here, happens here. I process it myself. But if there's a situation that I really am having a challenge with, I have two peers who share my ethics and boundaries and communications. And so I call them, and I keep it very vague and don't personalize it. But having peers in your field, having other people who can relate, who are doing the same type of work as you, who have shared values as you, who aren't just going to like have a gossip party or something, right? Like somebody who really wants to help you find a solution is golden. That's really helped me over the years to just know that I can talk to them in confidence, know that anything I say doesn't go anywhere, and actually be getting feedback that is applicable.
Yeah, so it's really interesting to me because sometimes, one of Rawad's things that he really wants us to explore is the tools that people use. So it's interesting because in your profession, there are not a lot of tools. As you told us before, it's pretty simple. But in some ways, there are a lot of tools because of what you have created and put in place for yourself. So even working for yourself and being an entrepreneur, you do have a team of people that you can confide in. You have a team of people that you can rely on in your personal life. So if you need help with your children, you have a process in place for finding the best clients that fit you. So I feel like all of those things are super unique and that you have really set yourself up for success in that way. Do you have any other tools that you have developed and that you've learned about that are the key, these cornerstones that you, like the others, that make sure that you set yourself up for success?
Take good notes. So I take notes, whether it's mental notes or actual physical notes. We have in the field SOAP notes, which is subjective, objective, the action, and the plan. And, it's like if you go get a pedicure. If you've been going to get a pedicure for more than a couple of times and you get the same color every time, and the third time that person still doesn't even say anything like, oh, are we doing this today or would you like something else? If they don't even care enough to remember what that was, where's the connection? Where's the care? So when my clients come here, I make sure I'm totally ready. That's a huge thing. How many times, and this was taught to me by a professor. This was really, really, really valuable. One of the little nuggets in school I got was be totally ready. Do not open that door until you can give them 100% of your attention, because that's why they're there. Even if you've known a client for 10 years, don't open the door and be getting your sheets and setting up the table and turning on the heat and getting the lotion ready and while you're chatting. I'll do that with my mom, right? But I'll tell you, like, being present with your client is huge, because then you can be like, hey, you're observing as soon as you see them, you're observing what kind of mood are they on, what mood are they on right now, what wave, right? Because that wave can change. So where are they right now? And I immediately try to tune into that, because that's why they're there. So I make a connection with my client. I ask them, how are you feeling today? What are your stress levels like today? Welcome to Massage Land. You're in the right place. Whatever the answer is, you're in the right place. I tell my clients all the time, they're being programmed all the time. I do a lot of training for my clients. I always tell them, you're in client training, because I have certain things that they do every single time they come. Every single time they come, it's the same. Every time, it's the same. They come, they take their shoes off, they come back. They know I'm going to ask them how they're feeling. They know I'm going to ask them what their stress levels are like. They know I'm going to ask them what parts of the body I'm going to work on. They're already thinking about it. I know you're going to ask me. Good. Then your training's worked, right? So every time I tell my clients, I tell adults to empty their bladders and wash their hands. Every time. I tell every single person. I have wood floors here. Every time I tell people, no slipping and sliding. Okay, remember, no injuries allowed in the massage office. Part of their programming, it's part of their client training. These little professional things, when you check in with your client, every single time they know I'm going to knock on that door before I come in. They know that I'm going to ask them, how's your face cradle? I'm going to get them bolstered. I'm going to ask them if they want heat. Yes or no. Great. Then they know I'm going to raise the massage table. Do you see where this is? This is a pattern, right? Expectations are being met every time. I raise the table. They know I'm going to start off with my geography. I jostle. I start my massage with jostling every time unless there's a contraindication for that. They know that's their time to decompress. The microwave's going. Blanket's not even back yet. I'm just jostling them around. They know that's their time to talk, and they know that's the time to get it out before the massage starts, right? And I have clients who that's all the time they need. And by the time I get that heat on them and uncover that leg, they're already going into massage land, because all those things, boom, 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 set them right up for that takeoff, right? And then I have clients who talk because they don't talk, right? They talk when they're here because they either don't have other adults in their life they can talk personally with. They don't talk to anyone personally about what's going on work because they don't want to take their work stress home, right? So this is their safe place for that, right? So they know that they can just say whatever because I've literally told them and remind them often. Hey, when they start telling me a story, I remind them, well, you know, anything you say here stays here. You know, I remind them of that every single time. So I think it's really important to create procedures, create expectations, stick to your professional ethics. Even if it's somebody you totally care about and you're friends with, and you even go and have lunch with sometimes or whatever, you got to stick with the professional ethics when you're at work, because there's an expectation being met. There's a feeling already being created, just like when you go to the movies and you grab your popcorn and you get whatever and you go sit down. It's the whole experience, right? And it's the same thing for any business, from the time they get to your parking lot, right, to the time they pull up and to the time they leave. That's their experience with you. You know, if I see garbage out on my street, I pick it up. I don't care if it's not mine or not, right? So it's just having those professional ethics is what keeps people coming back. They might like you. They might even still be your friend, but that doesn't mean they'll come back and keep doing business with you if you don't have your professional ethics in place. Right. So super clear expectations, having those standard operating procedures, and knowing your clients, knowing what if you have a client who's told you that they want to do a kitchen remodel, and the whole biggest exciting thing that they're excited about is actually this light fixture that's going in the kitchen. If you do the best fucking kitchen model of your life and you F up that light, you just botched the whole job because you missed it. You missed the vision, right? And unless you really listen, Ashley's an awesome example of listening skills. Unless you listen and know, I could give the best massage of my life, but if it turns out that they just can't relax until they've had their eyebrow face massage, right? And I miss that, I'm fired. I tell my massage therapists when I go get a massage, I tell them this, and this. Whatever else you do, don't miss this, or this, and you're going to get an A+, right? And so just really knowing and listening and taking those notes, knowing what your clients are really about and why they're really there. Some are may be there for a different reason than you think. I have some clients, I swear, the massage is the bonus. So knowing what some people are here for just the massage. Some people are here for just the foot massage. Some people are here for just the hand massage. Some people are here just for the back massage because they can't, don't have anyone in their life. Some people are here for the hug, hello and goodbye, because it's the only hug they get. Knowing if there's this one client, I don't hug all my clients, and I hate forced hugs. I hate feeling like I have to hug anybody. So if I feel like I have to do it, you're probably not going to get one. But I have one client. I know I'm the only person that hugs that person. Right? And so just knowing what the need really is and understanding what people are really there for. I think that's a huge thing. And I think that
Yeah.
as business owners, we can think that, oh, people come to this coffee shop because it's the best coffee in town. No, it's because you play the best freaking music and have the best lighting and the easy parking. Right? So
Right.
knowing what you're really offering, I think is really huge.
Yeah. I think that's incredible.
And over deliver. And over deliver.
Yeah.
That's the last thing. When Richard said that in AU, I was like, 100%. Here, I'll show you a couple of my over deliveries for the week. All right. So this is something I got from a girl working at the coffee shop. She's selling Scentsy. And I have really sensitive skin and I cannot smell like fragrant stuff, like fake candle stuff, because it makes me sick. I can't do it. These don't make me sick. I never have allergy issues. I don't get hives. I don't get weird breathing or anything. And it smells good. And it's like a little disc. And you can like open it and close it. Great for the car, teenager's room or baby room, right? Like these are fantastic. I love these. So I got my VIPs some of these. And when they get here, it's just sitting on their little plate. I have a plate. They know if there is something, they know where it's going to be. Then the clients who could give an F about this, I got them this. And it's a CPR face shield. It's just a one-time use, practical little cool thing. But I even gave one to a doctor recently who didn't have one, right? So it's like, having useful, practical little bonus gifts during the holidays. It's usually holiday related. I don't do birthdays. I'm horrible at birthdays, even in my family. You can ask my family that. But I just deliver all the time to make up for it. So that's over delivery is key. I mean, even I schedule 30 minutes in between my session. I don't look at getting paid by the hour myself. My clients seem that I get paid $85 an hour. I know that's not true. I know that it's more like $45, $50 an hour because of the time, the effort, the overhead, the things that I do to keep those clients. It's really more like $45, $50 an hour. So really understanding your overhead, really understanding the things that you want to do. Plus, this is marketing my outdoor club, right? My emergency preparedness outdoor club. And this is promoting another local entrepreneur. So it's a complete win-win all around. And I always try to pick gifts that are supporting a local business or something that's relatable, right? Something that's really happening. Like when I buy candy, I like to go buy it from a local chocolate store, right? Stuff like that. Support your local businesses, support the other entrepreneurs, and over deliver.
I did want to remind our audience that you feel free to drop some questions in the chat for Hannah at the end of this session.
Yes, please.
We will open that up. So I want to make sure that everybody feels free to do that. So I do just want to remark, I mean, I feel like you have given us such an amazing insight into like what you do to set yourself up for success and all the things that you care about. It has been honestly such a lovely time learning from you, Hannah. It's been really, really incredible. Um, but so we've talked a lot about what you love, your successes, what you do to set yourself up for success. Why don't we talk about a couple of things like what what are some challenges that you have as being an entrepreneur, and maybe not even specifically massage therapy, but being an entrepreneur and being a mother of 3 children and just living your life? Like, what are some challenges that you have to face? And maybe what are some things that you would love to do, but you have to say no to?
Yeah, it's a great question. It kind of loops back. So I met Ashley and Rawad and Lee through autonomy. And I joined autonomy because there has been something I've been doing wrong, right? And there were things that I did need to learn. And there was a lot I didn't know. And I think it proves I'm human, that we get comfortable doing things. And then as long as our needs are being met, what motivates us outside of that, right? Just like at the beginning of this, why did I start my entrepreneur career? I wanted Slurpees and Laffy Taffy, right? So, you know, I never looked with my upbringing and values, I never looked at making a lot of money. That's how I kind of saw it. It was like, oh, making a lot of money or being rich or being wealthy. I saw it as like a very materialistic thing for a very long time. It was a huge blind spot for me. So I ignored it because I'm not materialistic. Well, since then, I have a completely different perspective on wealth now, especially being the autonomous person that I am and the responsible person I am. And my kids are getting older and my nieces and nephews are getting older. My mom has 19 grandchildren and three of them belong with me and one is shared, right? So a lot of nieces and nephews. And I realized that wealth building isn't about, for me, it's not going to be about making lots of money. It's about helping others. And now that's what I want to do. I want to take these things I've learned and I want to grow wealth. I want to not have a job, but a business that can go on beyond me. And I want to help other entrepreneurs create freedom in their lives and not just jobs. And so my hope with building wealth now is about creating more freedom and supporting freedom-minded people. And that was a huge thing. How can I support people like Richard Grove? How can I support people like James Corbett if I'm on a tight budget? Doesn't mean I have to go do their work, but if I want that work to be done, I need to support it, just like why I buy organic food. So if we don't put our money in the places where we want to co-create those values, then what, right? So I realized that if I want this world to be a more positive place and a more free place and have less slavery in the world, that I better turn up my game, my business game, and really see the potential of these entrepreneur skills because I've really just used them for myself and my kids. And now I want to continue to grow so that I can help other people. And so the challenges with an entrepreneur and the challenges I've had is it is like a job. Being a massage therapist, yes, it's a sole proprietorship, it's a business. I call my shots, but I'm only making money when I'm there, right? And it's a service that is not necessarily life or death. So, like during COVID, I experienced that I wasn't considered an essential worker, right? Where's the controller autonomy in that when you can just be shut down? So I realized there were skills that I needed. I needed to learn how to do business in a way where I could create wealth to support myself when I'm older, if I'm so lucky to get to live longer, and then also to be able to support other people in my life and the other people around me. It's a very different thing. So some pitfalls have been just being a single employee. right? Because if you don't have any employees, it also limits you on different grants and stuff like that that you can get if you're just a sole proprietor. Not a pitfall was I've gone to the Small Business Center and I've talked to them, but I haven't made full use of that. And I'm going to. So that is something that I haven't done. Like I've taken a tax class there before to learn about how to do my own taxes, but there's a lot more information that those people have and they want to help people. And I need to go there and create that happening. Just like I went to the retirement community to set my chair up, right? I just had been too comfortable in my own little rut, right? And so this last year, that's what joining autonomy has been about getting out of just that job mentality. Like I may not have the employee mentality, but I still have just created a job for myself. And I think a lot of small business owners get caught in that. And then if they weren't as lucky as me to have such great mentors and teachers, maybe they really are in over their head. And then it just is super stressful, right? And so being able to learn skills where you can really create a business that can operate without you being there is a really huge thing. And I have a lot of respect for people who've managed to do that. And I want to continue to surround myself with people who are doing that because I want to do that. Not everybody wants the responsibility of being a business owner. They just don't want the responsibility. They don't want work stress at all. They just want to come up, they want to come to work and they want to do the thing and they want to go home. And I understand that. And that's okay. And if it wasn't for that, businesses would have an even more difficult time finding people to help them with their business, you know? And so my goal is to be able to figure out how to expand, but to help people have autonomy. I don't want to just have employees. I want to work with other people who are entrepreneur minded, who just are looking for that team and support to build something bigger than all of us, you know? And so the pitfall is just that sole proprietor. You know, it's a huge pitfall when you're a sole proprietor and you're not thinking bigger. If anything were to happen to me, then what? You know, if something happened, I was in a car accident or something, right? What's going to happen then? And so I realized I just didn't have as much autonomy as I really thought I had until COVID happened. And then I realized really quickly how little I really did have. And including the Oregon Health Authority is in control of my board. So I'm putting myself in a position that if my ethics conflict with theirs, that I can't get around legally, then I can step away. And that's that. You know, I don't want to be put between a rock and a hard place like I was and have to make choices and feel like, man, if I don't wear this mask every day, all day, I'm not going to be able to pay my bills and support my kids, even though it's completely medically bullshit, right?
Yeah, one of the
So,
things that I've really enjoyed about doing entrepreneurs that you just brought to mind is the fact that, you know, we're talking with real people who are doing real things. It's not, you're not a faceless corporation. And here you are dealing with some really heavy manners, for a slang term, you know, with what went down with the COVID situation. So, you know, and how it directly affects you. And yeah, you know, again, you're not a faceless corporation. So yeah, we get to hear the personal drama that goes on with that sort of situation. It's really important to understand just how much it affects a human being and the detrimental effects that it has. And then if you multiply that by millions of people, you know, that brings it to a different perspective of just how detrimental that whole situation was. So yeah, it's really important to hear that sort of thing.
and I was really a child because I hadn't thought about it, right? I hadn't thought about what could happen in that situation. I never thought that didn't happen in our lifetimes before, right? And everything, I read all the ethics, I read all the laws. I was in alignment with all the ethics and laws that were in place when I became a massage therapist. One of my clients looked back during that time and was like, "Do you wear a mask during every massage, like all day, because he knew that I didn't like wearing one. I didn't wear one to the store, right? And it was like, yeah, I do. And I did. I freaking did. I wore that mask until I didn't legally have to wear it anymore by my board. And being in that situation, it was like hard. It was so conflicting because it's like, man, I know I'm hurting myself by wearing this mask in this hot room, breathing my air. I'm hurting myself right now to stick to my freaking ethics and signing that document that says I agree to follow this. So my personal ethics, I agreed to that. I made that agreement. So I put myself in that situation. So I can be mad at them all day long, but I co-created that. So now I love being a massage therapist. I would do this if I won the lottery. But there's also now a very real possibility, unless I move to Mexico or move out of Oregon or whatever, right? That if they decide to create a law that I don't like, I'm going to have to either continue to do something that I don't want to do because they put that law in place, or hopefully have the freedom to say no, thank you. And that's what I would like, and I remember being in church. I haven't gone to church in a long time. I used to go to church all the time and studied the Bible and couldn't get enough of it. It was like, I loved it. It's so funny because I tried reading the Bible when I was 12 and I just couldn't read it. I couldn't understand it. And when I was 19 years old, I prayed, please help me to understand this. And I just couldn't get enough of it. I read it from beginning to end. It was like the greatest story. And then I started going to church. I became a young life leader for a while. And then I started going to church. And I loved going to church because the pastor that did the church, he did it like a lecture style. He got into what the words meant and all that. And I really loved that. And he had the contextual history. And I just love that. It's one of the things I love about Richard Grove's work. So I love it when people can put the whole picture together, But then my pastor one day talked about shunning, but he didn't call it shunning. He talked about this verse about that this young man had an affair with one of his dad's wives, who was the exact same age as him. It was like multiple wives, right? And there were two teenagers, and this boy in the story was going to church, and the leaders of the church were writing to ask, well, what do we do about this kid? We know he's having an affair with one of his moms, technically, culturally, and this is incest culturally. And so they were like, well, don't let that happen. Well, then the pastor used that story to then say, I want to let you know I'm not okay with people living together before they're married. And I was single at the time. I wasn't even in a relationship at the time. And he said, so if I found out that anybody was living together who was going to church here and they were living together and not married and everything, then I would ask them not to come to church. I can't believe my head didn't pop off. I can't believe my head didn't pop off and hit the floor and roll down the freaking aisle. I had invited a friend who was in her 50s to church and her boyfriend. And they had both been married before and they had been dating for a while and they were trying to do everything right this time. Here they were going to church together even. And then they were just told, if I find out you're living together and not married, you're not coming in. Well, she didn't even care. She was like, that's fine. We just won't tell them. And I was like, that's shunning. That's shunning. That's what that is. One sin, it says clearly in the Bible that one sin is not, in the eyes of God, is not worse than others. So then no one should go to church. I was just like, ah. And so that contradiction to me spiritually that is the level of contradiction that having to wear that mask for that time had in me. And I think like that's not healthy. If you're going to work and you're having to do something because on one hand, ethically you agreed to do it, but on the other hand, it's not good for you, what a horrible position to be in. And I know, just like my friend, I know I could have slipped it down. She could just didn't tell a pastor. They still go to that church and they're married now. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I could have pulled my mask down when my clients were face down in the cradle and no one would have even known. And it wouldn't have hurt anybody, you know? But I'm kind of a stickler. And it can be tough when you stick to your guns, you know, and that situation is just what made me realize just how not free I was, right? So we can tell ourselves, oh, we have job security or whatever. I mean, so many people in the medical field hated what was going on, but they were so financially invested. Their whole careers depend on those licenses, and the people in control of those boards call the shots. It's a top-down control system. It doesn't matter if those individual doctors know better, right? And so it's just it was a very eye-opening experience. So freedom is the key, you guys. Freedom is the key. And we can get mad and blame other people for not having freedom. But once we become adults, we can just accept that, yeah, this is the world we were born into. And it takes us all different amount of times to learn these things. But then we can, instead of being upset and mad and everything about how things are, we can just start looking at, well, what can I do? What can I do to change this? And that's what I love about autonomy and you guys is that you're positive thinkers and you're problem solvers. And then you add good ethics and communication. I'm really excited to see where autonomy is going to be in a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. It's exciting.
And then we can go back to young little Hannah, who didn't take no as the final thing, and learn from that, and yeah, and know that they're mucking about with us now, but you know,
Yeah.
we're going to play the long game there.
Yeah. You know, I had people tell me, just quit. Go to the welfare office until this is all over. Your mom, you could be on welfare. You could go do that if that's not what you want to do. But that's not in my ethics, right? So it's just interesting, you know, like I remember I was sitting out on the hearth and I was talking to this lady. She was a lighthouse. She was a lighthouse. I never even met her. I can't even tell you what she looks like. So this lady is a neighbor of a friend. And my friends were on their walking their dogs and stopped and talked to her. And she has a degree in business and she has a very good job here and makes very good money and does very well for herself. And they asked her to call me. And she did. And I said, I don't know what to do. My savings is out. Unemployment, you know, isn't even happening. I love what I do. I love massage therapy so much. I don't want to give it up. I don't know. I don't want to go on welfare. I don't know what to do right now, right? I can't just go get a regular job. I have kids to take care of. I don't want to go just put them in a daycare. So it was such a long conversation that this stranger had with me. And she just reminded me of just that, Lee. Don't give up. Don't give up, right? Find a way. Find a way. So I moved my office from Evergreen Court after being there for 13 years to my home. I gave up my master bedroom. I worked it out with my family that I could have them take care of the kids, and I was able to follow all the Oregon Health Authority protocols here in my home. And because I was in my home, people liked that. People liked coming to my home and not having to go to a clinic, not having to go to Evergreen Court where there's a bunch of people during a pandemic. They were happy to come to my home. They liked it better, it turned out. And I would have never had my office at home before COVID because I'm a private person. And like literally the only people that ever come here are my very close friends and family. That's it. And now my clients. And it's so funny because I just never invited people to my home that I wasn't close to. It was just my introverted part of my life. And so having people come into your home that you already work with personally and do body work on, there's this whole energy. So I repainted, I changed my furniture. I had to like fix the mojo of my house for my business. I took pictures down, depersonalized it a little bit, like did this whole thing and made it what it is right now. And it's actually been really, like I said, if it wasn't for her telling me not to give up and to keep going, I don't think I would have given this the shot that it deserved, right? Maybe I would have not put my heart into it as much if I wouldn't have talked to her. Maybe I would have still been having a pity party that I had to move my office to my home, right? Instead, after talking to her, it was like, no, I get to be here. I can do this. And by being home, this is a completely different environment. I can manage wearing the mask here. And I opened the window in between each client and aired it out in here. And I literally still to this day pretty much follow the same protocol because it's disinfecting. But like, clean everything in between each client and do all this stuff. And I'm able to do a better job than I even did at Evergreen Court with what I do. But
And that's less
I didn't
overhead
know
as
it.
well, right?
It's actually a benefit. Yeah. And so it's
Yeah.
just, I didn't know that when I saw my world crumbling, my awesome office deal. They didn't want a massage therapist in there during a pandemic. And especially since I wasn't going to get jabbed, right? They didn't care that I was wearing a mask. They didn't want anyone in there who wasn't jabbed and wearing a mask, right? Didn't matter if it was family or who. So I had to get out of there ASAP. And I did feel like kind of violated at first, like, oh my gosh, I can't just go get an office somewhere because I don't even know if I'm going to be able to pay for it. And, what am I going to do? And just that limited mindset, contract. And then after I talked to that lady, it was like, expand. And then I have to say, she gave me $1,000. So the tribe they got funding and they gave all of their members, and she's a member, $1,000. And she gave me hers. I never met this woman. And I couldn't believe it. It wasn't about the $1,000. It was about the fact that she was like, I know you're going to take this and you're not going to go buy Twinkies and ho-hos. You're going to take this $1,000 and you're going to put it into what you're doing to be able to do what it is you need to do. Right. So I wrote her a letter. She shared it with her boss. It was really good. And I have this fantasy that she's one of my wins in my sale. She doesn't even know because it's like this in my mind. I just can't wait to continue to apply all this stuff that I'm doing in autonomy and to get to the other side of the building and then go talk to her and just be like, here's where I am now. And, I've thanked her, but still, we actually have never met face to face. And so that's my fantasy. It's like walking with flowers or something and just be like, and that $1,000 and be like, here's your $1,000 back. Here's what I did. Here's where I am now. That's what I want to do. That's awesome. So, surrounding yourself with good people makes a big difference.
Yeah, that's you really addressed a lot there because the challenges, some ethical challenges, just challenges in general that you may have to face in your business, and what does that mean for you and how you dealt with that, as well as receiving blessings and kindness and guidance from other people that make such a huge difference in our path along the way, which I feel like is it's really part of your story, of your entrepreneurial journey. So I really appreciate you sharing that with us. Now I wanted to check in with Leah and Rawad and see if they had anything else before we move on. Good. Okay, cool. So what I wanted to ask now, Hannah, is like, what is next for you, right? So you have this business that you care so much about, that you made sacrifices for, including bringing people into your own home. to continue to run that. You've recognized some vulnerabilities. You've had amazing help from amazing people, and you're constantly working on yourself. I know that. We all know that. To try to improve and get better and learn new skills and all of this stuff. So what is next for Hannah?
Well, so my autonomy journey has been really, really awesome. So what's next for me is a bunch of things. So massage therapy land-wise, I want to continue to have my practice at home. I have massageoregon.org, which is not live because it's being built, but it's a continuing education website for massage therapists primarily. That doesn't mean that clients and other people won't enjoy going there, but I've built it with the LMT body worker in mind. And just by going to the site, you're already getting your continuing education credits. And there will be courses for them to watch, just like hour-long ones that they can get for CEUs that'll be free. There's lots of free continuing education out there for LMTs. There's lots and lots. So take advantage of that if people go to ABMP. But my goal is to have some taboo topics. I want to do some taboo topics for massage therapy and have some continuing ed on there for them. And then my passion is ethics, boundaries, communication. And I'm going to have a podcast regularly that will be recorded. And so people can either get their continuing education by just listening to the recordings, and then that is counted towards part of your CEUs, or people who want to come and join the backstage and actually be a part of the Q&A, they will get CEUs that will also count as in-person credits. And in the state of Oregon, we are required to do certain credits live and to participate. So people who want to do that will be able to take advantage of that. So that's one thing, is giving back to my peers and just having fun talking about the things I love talking about. But I'm looking forward to some taboo topics too, because I think as a body worker, we end up being really careful about some of the things that we talk about that we actually need to talk about. So I'm looking forward to that. And then also, I want to take my best videos and I want to be nationally certified. I've been nationally certified before. It's just you don't have to be in Oregon, so I let it go. So I'll get nationally certified again. And then hopefully I will also have those videos on their website. So that'll be really cool. And then outside of that, I will do some live workshops. But since I also have my guide's license in Oregon, massage therapy gives me my scope for massage, but then my outdoors license, my guide's outfitter license, also gives me permission to make money on property that's not my own. So I'm going to get creative with that, with my workshops for massage therapy, and we're going to go cool places outside. So that segues into club culture, which is my new business I created a little over a year ago. And it is an emergency preparedness and outdoor club. It's invite only. And it's a way for people here in my community to get together and share emergency preparedness resources and knowledge, as well as get together and go do stuff outdoors. For example, this summer, we're going to be doing some stargazing. We're going to be doing some foraging. We're going to be nerding out on playing with radios in the woods. Can't wait to play with radios in the woods. And we'll also be on those walks talking a little bit about the 4 agreements and how to actually apply them to your life. And so I'm just looking forward. I'm going to call it photo foraging. So that way I'm not responsible for what people put in their mouth or what they are actually foraging, because I'm going to say it's photo foraging. Feel free to steal the idea and go out with people and be like, hey, we're going to take pictures of plants, and then we'll meet online and I will show them how they can make a graphic asset with that, whether it's a book, whether it's a video. They can take their pictures, they can label them, do whatever, and I'll show them how they can easily do that with the plant identifier app and Canva. So I'm looking forward to photo foraging. And then I'm also, which that will be like something that people sign up for, and then we'll do it every other week. And then we're also doing herb fairies. So Learning Herbs is this like cool company that started out of Washington, and it's family owned and operated, and they support other small business people too that they work with, like the lady who wrote this book and stuff. So I love their herb fairy books. There's 13 books. You can read the first one for free online. And if you buy the books, you can download the PDFs of them anytime. They come with color sheets, they come with activity sheets, they come with recipes and a parent guide and an online circle community like Autonomy, right? So I'm already used to the community. So I'm inviting people that I know to purchase herb fairies for themselves. So I'm not infringing on anybody's copyrights. And we're going to meet online to talk about the stories, and we're going to talk about the morals of the stories, and then the plants that are being featured in each book. And then when we get together, we'll go out, we'll play, and we'll see them in real life and have fun.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So you have a lot going on, a lot of forward momentum, which is really amazing to hear. I'm very happy for you, Hannah. I know you've worked really hard for everything that you have, every single thing, and everything that you've learned. So before we wrap up, I just wanted to see if Lee or Rawad had anything else that they wanted to ask or add.
I
Okay.
just would like to say it was an amazing journey listening to you, and I hadn't a clue how amazing your journey has been. Thank you so much for that share, for everything.
Thanks, Lee.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Everybody has a
Yeah,
unique story. Everybody has a very unique journey in themselves. And if we're so lucky to hear it, right, then we may be lucky enough to learn from it and apply that very hard-earned wisdom to our own lives.
absolutely. I think I've learned a lot. I have a lot of food for thought from this conversation. So thank you so much. Now, one final thing. What advice do you wish to give to people that are looking to start their own business?
In these times in America,
Sure.
pick a need. My outdoor club is not a need, right? That's my passion project. That's why it's not the only thing I'm doing. I highly recommend choosing a problem to solve. And that's something that people learn in Autonomy, right? What is the problem that you're solving? So as long as the problem that you're solving for your business is a need, then you'll be okay. And I think that's really important because we learned during COVID that there turns out to be essential and non-essential workers. And so I do recognize patterns. And when something happens once, it's likely to happen again. So I would highly recommend choosing careers that not only are in alignment with your own values, your own ethics, but also that is a true need. I mean, I'm sure bars and stuff will be open, right? Those tend to always last days of old, right? I had clients during massage therapy that I did not see for a while because I have some clients who just come, it's like their spa treatment. But I have some clients that come so they don't have to be on medication. So to those clients, I'm a need, right? And then as far as my big ticket item that I will be selling, which I highly recommend that other people come up with a big ticket item. It's something that we learn in Autonomy. You have different things that you're doing. And I will have a business in a box. I will have a, course that is for massage therapists specifically in Oregon. And if they take the course, then they will end up knowing what they need to know to have a business in Oregon and be successful at it. And then they'll also have continued access to me. So having something that is a need, that is a big thing, and it can be really challenging for people because we in this country have a little bit of extended adolescence going on. And so we can be, I think, very unrealistic about businesses. Like, oh, I have this great idea and it's going to be so cool, right? And they come up with a business plan and it's all about an experience or something, right? I'm going to start this restaurant and it's going to be like this and everybody's going to want to come because this is how it is. And they don't do their footwork. They don't find out how much the business insurance is going to cost, or that a hood over an oven is thousands and thousands of dollars, or, you know, they don't think about how it doesn't matter that there was a restaurant there already before you rented that space. You have to completely redo the drains, right? Like, find out, do your legwork, you know, not only find a need that you can fill, but do your legwork and go out, talk to the city, find out, well, what inspections need to be done? What licenses do I need to have? What insurance do I need to have? You know, what's the tax I need to pay, right? I think that sometimes people try to get out of stuff, but it often just bites them in the butt. And my insurance company has been very helpful. My city has been very helpful to work with. My board, when I have questions, I call and ask, right? So I just think working with other people, really reaching out in whatever field you're in, if it is a restaurant type thing, going to your local wholesale food places, talking to the managers, finding out before you make your menu, what types of things that they get in, and is there any time of the year that this is difficult for you to get or anything? Go talk to your grocers, right? Or for me, lotion is a really big thing. If I don't have lotion, if I don't have oil, if I don't have a medium to work, it's going to make the experience I'm providing a lot different. So making sure that you have access to those things, because one of the things I learned during the pandemic is suddenly shipping slowed down. If I didn't have toilet paper, I wouldn't have been able to have a business, right? So having things on stock, it's not just for emergency preparedness, it's for being prepared for any situation. If I don't have hot water, I don't have a business. If I don't have running hot water, I can't legally do massage therapy in Oregon, right? So just these little things, really getting into your business, getting into it. You know, what is this? Ask questions, go to other businesses who are already doing it, see what they are doing well and do it better, and see what they're not doing well and don't do that, right? I didn't come up with that. I learned that so long ago. I can't even tell you who I learned it from, but that is like a mantra. And so I think that really reaching out to other entrepreneurs who are already doing something that you're interested in, doing those interviews, asking them what they like about it, what they wish was different about it, what they wish they would have known when they started, you know, and then also working with other entrepreneurs in your area, do like, hey, you know, I'm just getting started. Here's my affiliate link, or here's my referral list, or hey, if you send people to me, if I get 5 people a month, I'll give you something free. You know, working with other people, because the best marketing is word of mouth. And so working with other people, telling them what you want to do, what you have going on, and making sure they know what your vision is, so that way they can market it for you. You know, really connecting with other people and making sure you're checking all the boxes on what your business is. And handwritten signs, you know, it's like, I just saw a handwritten sign the other day. A whole new business opened up in the mall, right? And they've put so much work in their window dressings and like how it looks, and it looks really cool, right? And then they have a shitty poster sign in the middle. Their sign is just shit. It looks like a little kid did it, and not in a cute way, okay? And it's like, man, that could have cost them their coffee that morning. You know what I mean? They could have gone down to Staples. They could have had the person at Staples print something for them if they didn't design it themselves. Like, literally, your advertising, your marketing makes a difference, and doing things well, as well as you can. And in 2024, we can all do better than a handwritten sign. If you have to make a handwritten sign, get a ruler, right? Do the best freaking job you can, so when they see that sign, they can see the effort you put into it. Make it artsy, make it fun, but make it good, right? Don't slap something on, right? And I see that a lot with entrepreneurs in small towns is they think, oh, it's just a small town, nobody here cares. Yeah, they do. They absolutely do. They want to feel good about where they're going. They want to feel like the place that they're supporting cares about them. And one way you can show them right away is, what kind of effort are you putting into the business? Why should they go to you if you can't even put effort into your side? Why should they waste their time if you're not even willing to pick up the garbage on the way into the office? When I managed the club, I told all of my people, like, technically, you're not working until you come in through the door. Till it's your time to start work. And when you're in here, you're not working when you're out in the hall. You're not working, in the mall. It was in the mall. You're not working when you're in the parking lot. But here's the thing. If you see garbage on your way in that's blown across the parking lot and it's up against the door, every single person that's coming in during your shift, they see that garbage. That's what they're seeing when they come in. That window, if it's not clean, when they open that door, that is the first feeling they're going to get, is all that crap all over the window and the garbage blown against the wall. And you know whose face they're going to see first is yours. So they're going to automatically tie that shit on the ground and that crappy smeared stuff, and they're going to open the door, and they're equating you with that. That's what they're equating you with, because you see it. You had to walk through that door. They know you saw it. They know you see that, and you don't care. So why should they? We create the standard. We create, just like in autonomy, the standard of excellence, right? We have to create that. And even if we don't always make the mark, if that's what we're shooting for, at least people know we tried. At least people can say, hey, you know what? That's not the best I ever saw, but I know you put effort into that, right? And I think that makes a huge difference, is making sure that you are putting the effort in, because people will notice that. So effort, connecting to other entrepreneurs, interviewing other entrepreneurs, getting your legwork done, going and talking to the small